If you can see my screen, let me know.
I can see your screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Good afternoon once again. My name is Ikechukwu. I'm a UI UX designer and a front-end developer based in Lagos, Nigeria. I currently work with a system integration company called SoftSuits, where we build payment integration system for businesses and big businesses and SMEs. So you can reach out to me via my website, see my portfolio, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. And of course, yes, by the end of this lecture, I will share the slides so you can, because I also pasted links of resources you will need for the course.
I can
So
definitely
today I'll
hear
be
you.
taking.
Your network is crackling.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, no problem. Sorry about that. So I'll be putting you through gradients and typography. So the table of content, for the table of content under gradients, we'll look at what color gradients are, the types of color gradients, and their best practices. Then for typography, we'll look at what typographies are. I also have font pairing resources where you can have a look at different resources where you can pair your fonts. Then we'll also look at what's a typeface. Also see how we can identify a font type scaling and font selection criteria. So to begin, we'll start with gradients. So first of all, what are color gradients? So color gradients are also known as color transitions, which can be defined as the gradual blending from one color to another. Now, this blending can occur between colors of different tone but share the same color base, or colors of two different tones. Basically, what this means is I can create a gradient of two colors, let's say blue, a dark blue and a lighter blue, then create a gradient between them. By the time I share these slides, I'll put examples here. I was actually trying to rush. So we have four types of gradients. We have the linear gradient, we have the radial, the conic, and the diamond. So the linear gradient is one that occurs in a straight line, either from left to right or from top to bottom. While the radial gradient is a type of gradient that radiates from the center. Okay, yeah, I have it here, yeah. The radial gradient is one that radiates out from the central point. Now, this type of gradient can be manipulated using the following parameters. One, the position of the center point, the size of the gradient, which is circle. Yeah, so radial gradient is in a circular manner. While the second, hold on, please. Sorry. Well, the second one, numerous colors used in the transition. So you can have two or more colors to create your radial gradient. Now, conic gradient. Now, conic gradient is a bit similar to radial gradient. So the major difference between conical gradient and radial gradient is that conical gradients shade in a circular clockwise or anti-clockwise fashion. But I'd love to. I wish I'll post I'll show you examples of that later. Then a diamond gradient is one that is being created using quadrilateral shapes. And what I mean by quadrilateral shapes are squares and rectangles. and it forms a diamond shape from the central starting point and ends, and the endpoints are in the corners of the diamond. Okay, so best practices. So it will be, so here are the list of best practices that I coined out to create gradients. The first one will be use colors of different tones but have the same base color. Like I said, I think I can show you a particular example here. As you can see, so this is a pure example of a linear gradient. As I said, it goes in a straight line, so either from the top or bottom, from the top to the bottom, or we can have it starting from left or right. And if you notice, the two colors I use are from the same place color. I will guess this is red, but different tones. So from the left, I'm starting with a dark tone, and I'm ending with a lighter tone. So that's an example of radial gradient. Then another example would be, this is how a radial gradient looks like. So you see it radiates from the center to the end, of your shape or whatever design you are trying to do. And you can see I'm also using two colors. I can decide to add another one to it and increase. Then also I will increase the size of the radial gradient. Then the other one I use the diamond. Diamond, you see diamond is appearing in using a quadrilateral shape, which is the square. You can also control the size by moving the position of the different colors using the color slider of your text editor. All right. So if you have no idea of of picking the colors you can use that will complement each other, I will suggest using the color wheel. There's what we call a color wheel that so this is an example of a color wheel. So if you all right, so if you are having difficulty in picking out colors that we can use to create gradients, you can use the color wheel. And so with the color wheel, you'll be able to see colors that complement each other. So that way you can effectively create your color gradients. Then also it is recommended to use a maximum of 3 colors. There are situations where you can use only 2, but it's usually best to request 3. Sorry, what does this mean? So yeah, there are some online Instagram pages which I usually use for my own if I want to get colors and gradient ideas. So here are Instagram pages that I will recommend you follow or look at. AWSM Color. This is the Instagram handle, and ocean.ui. This is the Instagram handle as well. Then there are also websites or online resources you can use. You have Gradient Hunt, and UI gradients. Let's just see. So this is Gradient, then Gradient Hunt, and last but not least, UI gradients. So this is UI gradients. So you can also have, if you have a source of inspiration, you can have a look at these resources and play around them as you wish. So the next thing I would like to talk about is typography. Now, typography is basically the way texts are arranged and presented. So they are basically used in arranging characters or in order to pass a message across to viewers. Then font pairing resources. So I itemized 3 resources which you can use to pair various. This one is from Just Creative 15 font combinations. Let me do that here so you can look. So yeah, 15 best professional Google font combinations. You can have a look at them. We also have the ultimate guide to font pairing and 30 great font combinations. So you can have a look at those to pair to know what kind of font you would like to pair. So the next thing I would like to talk about is typeface. Now, what's a typeface? Now, a typeface is the design of lettering that can include variations in size, weight, slope, width, etc. Now, each of these variations of the typeface is a font. So I know the next question will now ask yourself is, okay, what's now the difference between a typeface and a font? So now a typeface is basically a collection of fonts of various sizes, weight, and style, while a font is a specific weight and size within the same typeface. Now, as you can see in the diagram here, Sora is a typeface. Now, Sora Light, Sora Medium, Sora Bold, Sora Heavy, and Sora Extra Bold are called fonts. Now, there's another thing I want to know, that a collection of these fonts make up a font family. So I'll repeat myself again. Sora is the typeface, Sora Light, Sora Medium, Sora Bold, Sora Heavy, Sora Extra Bold. These are font weights. And remember, I said a font can be a specific weight and size within the same typeface. So these are different font weights. So this is a font, this is a font, this is a font, this is a font, and this is also a font. Now, a collection of these fonts make up what we call a font family. I don't know if so basic classification. Okay, I think it will be best I use my notes to explain this one. Sorry, hold on. Yeah, okay. So here we have please, if you can see my screen, if it's not legible, please let me know.
Driver yẹn sọ pé bí wọ́n máa fún security lówó ń gbà yẹn ni wọ́n sọ.
Please, if you can zoom in a bit.
Is it better now?
Maybe once more.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay now.
All right. Okay, thank you. So a basic classification of typefaces. Now we have the serif typeface, sans serif typeface, script, monospaced, and display.
Léjì yẹn
Uh,
tí
the
mo pè má yẹn pé kí ni ó ní
sorry, yes. Sorry about that. So the serif typeface is one that includes slight decorative strokes at the end of the letters. Like we have I think the Arial, as I said, but then we have the sans serif. This is a typeface that does not include decorative strokes at the end of the letters. Sorry, in the slide, I'll paste examples of these typefaces so you can have an idea of what I'm talking about. Then we have the script typeface. The script typeface is basically got its origin from handwriting and calligraphy, and it's usually used for mostly logos. Yeah, mostly logos. Then you have the monospace typeface. Now, the monospace typeface is a non-proportional typeface in the sense that every letter takes the same amount of horizontal space on a page or on a screen. Examples will be shown later. Then display typeface is a typeface that is suitable for headlines and titles. If you go to a site where maybe the hero section of a landing page, the main title, usually the display typeface is used as the main title to get the attention of the user so that they can know what they're all about. So these are the various resources for the different typefaces. The link to the resources will be available shortly, but let's see. Let us just go to this one to see. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can the different. You can in this resource. Oh yeah, this is what I talked about. Typeface variants and the likes. So how do you identify a font? Well, okay, basically, for me, I'm thinking this topic is referring to maybe the tools you can use in identifying a font. So one of the tools I use, what font is a Google Chrome extension. So basically, if I go to a site real quick. So if I go to a site and I want to know like the font used in the hero image, in the hero text here, this is what the font is. Is a Chrome extension. I click on it, mouse over it, and I know the kind of font being used. Then the same thing goes for the navigation menu and the likes. Then there's a site called What the Fonts. So this platform allows you to maybe you come across an image with a particular font that you are looking for. So on this platform, you can actually upload that image. Then it will there's an AI that will work on the background that will get the font for you from there. So the next one is type scale. Also, which also synonymous to what we call information hierarchy. Now, type scale is basically a list of font sizes that are defined by a base font and a ratio, which is also known as the scale. Then there's a formula which you can use to create your type scale. So that's the base font size times the ratio, of course, which is the scale. And there's a visual tool which you can use to do that. I'll click on it so that you can. So this is the visual to call type scale. So if let's assume this is your base font, and okay, you want poppins. You now want to create a design system, a typography design system, and you need to have everything to scale. So you can decide to, select your ratio or your scale here. So let's say I'm going to pick perfect fourth, then automatically the AI at the background calculates the different font sizes based on the scale by multiplying the scale and the ratio. Then over here, you can see a preview, a visual preview of how the scale is being used in content of in the content of a site. Okay, so now things you need to consider when selecting a font brand. So you need first branding. So you need to ensure that the font you are selecting correctly reflects the true character of the brand. For instance, if you want to, maybe you are designing a product for a company in the fashion industry, you won't want to use, not in all cases, but you won't want to use a geometric font for that. So basically, what you want to use are fonts in the serif type space. So let me. Yeah, so as you can, all right. So as you can see, even in the, sorry, if you look at the logo of this brand, you see that is using a sans serif, but sans serif has a trailing stroke. Let me open the image in another tab. Okay, now you see, this is a combination. You see now this logo has a combination of two different classes of typefaces. The first, I think the Johnny here is the one that has to do with writing, so that the script typeface, while this one here is, I'm assuming sans serif because it has a trailing stroke at the end of each font of the letter. So that's for branding. Then the second thing is you have to consider the legibility of the font you are choosing. So you need to ensure that whatever font you are choosing must be legible on different platforms. When I say platforms, I'm talking of both the web and mobile. And also you need to consider, when you're looking at legibility, you need to also consider the class of people or the target audience, people who are going to view the product. Because you also need to consider those that might have eyesight issues. And of course, the typeface, I've talked about this typeface. Depending on what you want to do, you can select the right typeface for it. Then font family, you need to have a large number of font family to meet your project requirements. Then here, limiting the number of fonts. Yeah, so it is not ideal to use more than 2 fonts. So if you visit the resources that if you visit the resources that I laid out for you for font combination, you see that they will have they pair 2 fonts. The first font could be for the title, while the second one could be for the texts. So as you can see here, these are two fonts, different sizes. The same thing goes here. 2 fonts here as well. So the recommended number of fonts should be 2. Just 2 fonts. 2 fonts is ideal. One for your title or subtitles, then the second one for your paragraphs. then it's also good to avoid using two similar fonts or fonts that are in the same typeface. So what we're trying to say here is it's usually best to use fonts that have conceptual distinctions. As you can, like in the examples I've seen here, you see that these are from two different typefaces. And use one that, yeah, I've also used one that have contrasting differences. Yes. So yeah, okay. I also have then here's a resource we can also look at to you know, read more about selecting the different kind choices you need to make on the choices you need to make when selecting fonts for your design. That's the end of my presentation. Sorry, I have to do this over. Okay, so if you have any questions, please.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. I have a question. Not really a question, but a request. Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, no problem. Yes, I can hear
I have a
you. I
request.
can hear you.
Yes, please, can you help us paste the links you've shared
What's
with
the
us
request?
on the links you've the links on your presentation? Can you just help us share it on the message tab so that we can easily access the links, like the resources that you asked us to go and to read more on, the links you used? Can you share them with us so that we can?
Yes, I will definitely share them. I'll share them in this slide. So like I said, I was in a bit of a rush. So
Okay.
I will share this slide. So in this slide, you have some of the links that I mentioned. They are actually on this slide, which are here. But
Okay,
I
sir.
would complete. So I'll complete this slide, then then of course the links to all the resources will definitely be there.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
No problem.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you're building your design system or your design skill and you want to build your
Okay.
typography, how do you
Sorry, can you come again? I can't
I said,
hear you.
can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello. Can you
Yes.
come again with your question?
Okay, yeah. I said when you're designing your design system, sorry, your design style guide you're supposed to use for a project and you're working on
Yes.
your typography, how
Yes.
do you know what so you have like your header 1, header 2, header 3, header 4, like that, but sometimes they have like different um what do you call it? So let's assume your header 1 is bold and your
Okay.
header 2 is medium, your header 3 is like something else. How do you know when to use all those if you're working on your typography style?
Okay. If you are working, all right. So basically, if you want to know when to use, you need to, first of all, you need to, when you are coming up with a product design, you have a design plan, like your wire. Okay, this is how I do mine. So so your question is, how do you know when to use each of those, the header 1, header 2, header 3? So that's where information hierarchy comes in. So basically, so if there's a very important information you need people to have a look, you need people to have a look at, and you want to get people's attention, you use the header 1. Like for instance, I've closed the site. Okay, yeah. So basically, if you want, okay. So basically, if you want, just try and once you understand the role of information hierarchy in the area of typography, So the most important information would use. Who is that? Please, can you mute your mic if you want to? If you're not. So, George, are you listening? Can you
Ṣé
hear
kò
me,
sí
George?
èdè náà látàárọ̀ ni?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. So basically, if you understand the concept of information hierarchy, so you understand how to use this one. So like I said, the most important information you want people to know about, you give it a big title so that it will visually catch the attention of the user. Then underneath that important, maybe other sub important contents, sub content, or if you have another content that is a bit is not as important as the first one, but a little bit important, then you can use H2. Then you can use H3 for your subtopics. Maybe you have a main topic, then you now have subtopics. So you can use your H3 for that. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, you have.
I have a question.
Right, Ernest.
Sorry, when you were telling us about branding, that we were considering using a.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
font.
Can you speak louder? I can't really hear you.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so you said when we are picking a typography, a font, we have to consider the branding. Now,
Yes.
I want to ask, in a case whereby we are working with a brand designer, so I want to ask, I want to know who is in the best decision to choose the font in that situation. Is it the brand designer or the UI designer?
Both the brand and UI designer are in the position to act. So this now, how you will know is based on the interview question you have with the client. So basically, this is, I think, in the design process, empathy. You need to understand the business of the client, what the brand of the client stands for, and you also need to know what the brand wants to communicate to prospective clients. So when you ask those questions, so definitely then you'll be able to have an idea of, okay, this is the type of font you use. Then also you also ask the owner of the brand, their target audience. Because different people from different age groups relate to different types of fonts. Like for instance, now our elderly people, which I call them the old school people, they use they relate very well with all this Arial, Times New Romans, ahead. So those are the fonts elderly people can relate with. But for young people like us, we tend to relate well with most of what geometric fonts, script fonts, display font. Like for instance, now like what I use personally in my projects, I use a lot of geometric fonts. I love geometric fonts a lot. So I use geometric fonts for most of my designs. Examples are we have Gilroy, Poppins, and the rest. So by the time you ask, so in your design process, at the empathy stage, when you're asking them, when you're trying to understand the problem of the business, what they're trying to solve, their target audience. So from there, you would have an idea of the kind of fonts you will use. Have I answered your question, Ernest?
Yes, thank you very much.
No problem.
Hello, please, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you, Olivia.
All right. I wanted to ask, could you throw more light on gradients? Because you spoke about linear, radial, diamond, that one is about, and conic. Please, could you throw more light on?
Okay, so basically, okay, like I said, gradients is the blending of colors from one color to another. And I itemized 4, which are the linear, radial, conic gradient, and the diamond. Let's see if I show you. I have images. Okay. There are images which I would like to show, but they are scattered somewhere, so I don't want to waste so much time so that other people can ask their questions. So basically, I think in the example that I did before, yeah, let me use this now. So this is a gradient here. Olivia, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I remember the example. My specific
Yeah.
question is like, apart from I was following you, but my specific question is that when does it become necessary that you use gradients, and which do you advise that people use
Okay. Okay.
among the
All right.
four?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So basically, most times gradients are used when you want to illustrate a sense of depth in a design. And the most common type of gradients used are linear and radial. So hardly will you see people use conic gradients or diamond gradients. I don't know. I don't know if I have an example in my design. Okay. Let's just go. Let's just so yeah, as you can see, so this type of gradients now, these are the kind of gradients that are mostly used, and you use them when you want to showcase depth, or you just want to, you don't want any form of plain background or something. Or mostly they are usually used to depict a sense of depth. And like I said, it is the most common type of gradient being used, the linear and radial gradients. Hold on a bit. Let me just go through. I think I should have something. Let me go through a design that I've done in the past so you can understand what I'm talking about. Okay, yes, this is it. Yeah, so this is a gradient. So I used a linear gradient. Olivia, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Yeah, so if you notice the illustration at the left-hand corner of this split form, I used a linear gradient, but well, in this case, I'm doing it from the top left corner down to the bottom right. So what I'm trying to do here is, in as much as I'm trying to have I'm just trying to create an interesting background feel. Then yes, and at the same time, the primary purpose of this gradient is to make this color, the text and all these pop out. That's why you see there's a kind of contrast. So you notice that the gradient is a bit on the dark side. So more of like an overlay on the background image. Then you have the text at the top. So this is also a kind of use case in which people use in creating gradients. And as I said, this is linear. I should have. Yeah, this is another linear gradient again. I think this one should be coming from either the top right or top left as well. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
Oh,
Sorry,
yes,
please, excuse
yes.
me.
Yes, I understand. For depicting sense of depth,
Yeah.
and when you don't want a plain background, and when you want an overlay for an image and you want things to be fun.
Yes. 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 Exactly.
Please, I have a question.
All right, Isaiah.
Um, Please, can you use a gradient color as your main color when designing?
No, 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 no. Great. Okay. When you say main color, is it in terms of the fonts, or maybe, or
Background.
the
Alex, sorry, please, I can't hear anything. I don't know if it's just me.
I don't know. Can you hear me? Can you?
And
Is it
I
just
have a
him?
question actually.
Okay, let me answer Isaiah's question, then I'll get back to you. So Isaiah, when you are using fonts, when you are using gradients, I won't advise that you use gradients as your main background. So gradient is simply a style. It's not something you use as your main color. Do you understand me? So when you want to, like I said, if you want to depict it, because the result of a gradient, you still need to make use of your main colors, the main colors of the brand that you are designing for or your project. So I wouldn't say so. The only places, like I said, the only places where I would suggest maybe is in a login page or registration page or I don't know, somewhere where it won't be needed consistently, because when you begin to have too many gradient colors in your design, number one, you tend to confuse your customers, and it will be too for me it will be too overwhelming. So there are certain places where, like the examples I showed Olivia now, yeah, this is a perfect example where you can use it. So you see, I'm using the main color of this is the pink, or a shade of pink, but I decided to combine two different tones of that pink to form this gradient here. So it's not, so you can see that it's not, I didn't use that gradient all over this place. So I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes, you have.
All right, no problem. So someone, is it Alabi or who wanted to
Yeah.
ask?
My question is with typeface.
Typeface, okay.
Yeah, typeface and type scale. So I'm wondering, like, what is there like a certain stone particular skill I'm supposed to use if I'm working on a website and I'm trying to like do the header 1, header 2, header 3, or is a particular type skill that I need to use if I'm working on a mobile, or is it related to the grid system that I have set for my screens? Then as well, I was supposed to ask this in the last class actually, but on Figma we have most of the screens we design for are actually on portrait mode. So as well on landscape mode as well, we're supposed to actually design for screens. So on landscape mode as well, is this something you're supposed to also redesign and replace all the items on our
Okay.
mm,
All right. So let me see. You've asked two questions. I'll try and answer the first one. So for the type scaling, there's to be honest, I'm still researching on that myself, but I don't think based on the tool I shared, you can come up with let me, where's that tool again? For the type scaling, you can come up with your own type scale, but ensure that you are using the base font of 16. Now, for the issue of using a different font for different screens like mobile and the web. Now, let me start with the mobile. So for the mobile, I think it is standard that you use 16 pixels for your fonts. Then maybe you can then maybe the titles of your fonts in the mobile should be like maybe ×2 of the base fonts you are using, maybe 32 pixels. Then the font weight should be bold. That at least, remember we are talking about information hierarchy here. So if you have let's say in your mobile app, you have a section, you have a section title.
Announcement very quickly, and then we're done. I know that birthdays like this would usually require a central place of convergence where people can hang around, pray, have refreshments, and this. So we're using our other venue. I don't know if there's any provision here, but we're using our other venue, and I know that some of you may probably have come with gifts or whatever. The broadcast, I'll just wait a bit so that we can.
Hello?
hello, can you hear me now?
All right, no problem. Okay, I think after this question, we'll call it a day. Okay, yeah. So,
Question.
okay. Oh, yeah. You'll be okay. I think I'll last. That'll be the last question. Then, I will prepare the slide and send it to Kemi. Then she'll reach it. I think she'll find a way of reaching it out to you guys. Okay. So, Falabi, as I was saying, in your mobile, like I said, the base, it is recommended that the base font is 16. Then you can make the title be 32 with a very bold typeface, a bold font width, at least for the area of for hierarchy. Then for the web, yeah, the web you can basically, like I said, you use your H1 for very important and for very important information. If you want to capture the attention of the user, then you can use H2 and the rest for sub important contexts. Falabi, I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yeah, you have. Thank you.
So okay, last question.
Okay, it's concerning typography. How do you measure your line height for each size that you've chosen for the font rather? How do you measure line heights?
I think that you can use. It depends on the tool you are using. Then also I think there's a standard for each kind of text as heading, the headings and paragraphs. So they have specific line heights. I think what I'll do is I'll do a research. I'll get the resource and put it in the slide so you can have a look at it. So I think for paragraphs you use a line height of 1.5 or 1.4. Then also the line height for the headings will be determined by the size when you are creating your variations here. I don't know if I've answered the question. Who asked? Elizabeth, right?
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Yes, please, I want to confirm something. Someone already asked the question and you already answered, but I didn't get it. The person asked that who is to decide the font for the typeface for website or an application between the brand designers and the UI designers.
No, I
You
said both
answered,
of
but I
them.
didn't get the answer.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry, I
both of
said
them are
both.
to
Both
decide.
yeah. So it is in your design process at the empathy stage where you are beginning to understand the problem and situation of the business or what the business is trying to achieve. Yeah, at that stage, that's where you know, okay, this is the nature of the business. So this is the info kind of a message the business wants to pass across to prospective clients through their brand, and yeah, like that. Okay, so I think that will be all. Thank you so much. I think I can stop sharing.
Hello, please, can I ask one more question, please? Please, what is the standard typography size for different mobile? Hello, can you hear me? Is it on?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes,
Okay,
I
please,
can hear you.
I was asking, please, is there a standard typography size for different mobile screens?
By default, like I said, by default, the base font for every text or typography is 16 pixels. 16 pixels. So, when you want to create variations for your heading, that's for your heading and whatsoever, you can, like I said, you use their visual tool, and like I said, the formula for that variation for those variation is the base font multiplied by the ratio. So once I give you the slide, definitely the link to that visual tool will be there, and then you can use it to create your font typography system. I don't know if I've answered your question, Olivia.
Okay, so that means you consider the base fonts, which is 16 pixels.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
multiplied by the ratio.
Which is the
What
scale?
ratio?
Yes.
Okay, what ratio? Sorry if I
Let me. I'll have to share my screen again, so I'll show you the visual tool so you know. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen, Olivia?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so now you see this tool called TypeScale is a visual typography type scale calculator. I use this as well for when I'm building my design systems. So it's very easy, very sweet, and makes life easy for someone. I think that's what we are all about. We need things that make life easy for us. So that ratio or scale I mentioned, this is it here. So you have minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth. So any one you want, you can pick the golden ratio if you want. Wow, that's a lot. You can pick the perfect fifth, then major fourth, and major third. So then if you are then to see how it appears on, so this is a preview of how each of these different type scales will appear on a web page and this. And if you're okay with it, then you can build your typography system from there. Now remember, we are using the base font of 16 pixels. Olivia, I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, I understand now. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, thank you, everyone, for coming. Apologies for how switching between two things. I hope you were not confused, but I hope you learned a lot. And I also like to thank members of the Design Power Institute for this opportunity. Like I said, I will make this slide available. I'll contact Kemi, then she would make it available to you guys. All right, thank you very much. It's lovely. Good afternoon again from Nigeria. It's lovely meeting you.
Thank you for the class. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.